today, guys. I don't get blown away out here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Robert. Remember, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom of the screen. Man, it is a windy day today, guys. It is blowing hard. But anyways, in today's video, guys, today we're going to be talking about service companies and how you can make a buttload of money by working for a service company out here in the oil field. I mean a ton of money. Guys, stick around. You don't want to miss this. Alright guys, a few weeks ago I made a video on the highest paying trucking jobs in the oil field. It's important to know that that video was strictly about trucking companies in the oil field and how much they pay. What I didn't tell you in that video is that there's another part of the oil field that can make you a ton of money, and these companies are actively looking for CDL holders all the time. And we call these companies service companies. Now, these companies are not necessarily trucking companies, but they do operate commercial vehicles and perform a service for the oil companies. So hence, they do require truck drivers to operate. Now, these are going to be your companies like Halliburton, Schlumberger, Liberty, ProPetro, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of them. These companies basically do a service strictly dealing with the wellhead and all the downhole stuff, and mostly perform jobs such as cementing and fracking. In this video, I will break down the difference between cementing and fracking separately. I will highlight 3 areas, and they are what they do, schedules, and pay. Let's get into it. Let's start with the cement operator, because I do have a little bit of experience being a cement operator. When doing cement, you will always be doing a service for a drilling rig. Basically, a rig will come in and drill the actual well. You have 3 different phases in the drilling process, and those are surface, intermediate, and production. Now, as that rig finishes each phase of the drilling process, they must install what is called casing, and basically that is pushed down the hole that they just drilled. Now, this will be part of the completed wellhead, and also it helps prevent the actual hole from collapsing in on itself as they drill deeper. Now, what a cement crew does is they come in and they basically cement all of this casing that was pushed down hole in place. Now, a basic cement crew will have 1 pump and 1 pump operator. They will have 1 or 2 bulk units. Guys are called bulkies. If you're new to cementing, you have no experience, most of the time you will come in as a bulk driver. Also part of the crew, you have what's called a cementer, and this guy knows everything. He's the most experienced on the crew, and basically he's going to be the supervisor supervising that cement job. Now, the cement crew typically starts out by everybody helping rig iron from the pump truck all the way up to the rig floor, which is the hardest part of the job. And then they will run hoses from the bulk cement trucks or the silos, depending on where you're pulling cement from, to the pump truck. Now, from here, what they do is they start pumping cement, and basically what happens is they pump cement down the casing, and then as it gets to the bottom, it floods the bottom of the hole and then pushes all the cement up around the casing, and then they don't stop until all the cement's cleared outside of the hole, and basically that cements the casing in its place. Now, after you completed pumping cement, basically you go ahead and rig all of that stuff down. Most of these jobs can last from a few hours all the way up to maybe 24 hours or even a couple of days. Here is a photo of me when I used to be a bulky pumping cement. This job actually lasted for about 3 days. We were on location, and yeah, it sucked, but did make a lot of hours. Now, for schedule and home time, most cement companies vary between what company you go to, but most of the time they work what is a 14 on and 7 days off. When I worked at 9, I did what was a 15 on and an 8 days off. But typically you're going to be out working about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just really depends on the company. As far as pay goes, you could probably expect to be around $21 an hour now. I remember when I worked at 9 Energy, I was at $17 an hour, so they have come a long way with pay. Now, typically a normal work week will be north, and I would say way north of 100 hours, and you're probably going to be looking at about 130, 140, maybe even 150 hours per week. And I say that because you get paid for everything that you do with these companies. You get paid from driving to the well, driving back from the well, servicing your truck, washing your truck. And sometimes those jobs do last, like I said before, a few days. Most of the time, if you get to a well and say the job runs over your clock on your ELD, most of the time you have to sleep out in the field. And the cool thing about service companies is they pay you for all of that time. Basically, the only time that you're not getting paid is if you're in the man camp. Now, typically with these companies, you can expect to probably net somewhere around $3,500 to maybe even north of $4,000 per week, which is really good and is probably one of the better oil field jobs for truck drivers. Now let's talk about hydraulic fracking. You can make a ton of money working in frack. There are numerous jobs out there for entry-level employees, things like hauling hazardous chemicals and even entry-level equipment operator jobs. But now let's talk about what actually is hydraulic fracking. Basically, hydraulic fracking is just another way to stimulate a recently drilled well by creating large fractures in the bedrock formations beneath the Earth's crust. And these fractures allow oil to seep out of the shale formations. Now they do this by using a perforating gun to create these fractures and pump high pressure fluid and sand mixed together downhole, and what it does is opens up these fractures even more and keeps them open for future production. So basically, this is what a traditional frac site looks like. They have the wellhead up front with the wireline unit, and then 2 rows of pumps that will push fluid downhole in a place obviously where they can store the sand, usually in silos depicted here. Most of the time when you land your first job with a frac company, you do come in as an entry-level equipment operator. If you have your CDL, you will be driving most of this equipment on and off location, maybe even to another location that you guys will eventually move to. But most of the time you will be on location operating all of this equipment. Now that could be working with the sand, the blender, working on the pumps, maintaining the pumps, or just whatever the senior operator wants you to do. These fracs could last a week, or they could last months at a time on location depending on how many wellheads that you have to frack on that location. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you will not be doing very much driving in frack. Now, most companies offer free housing. This could be a man camp or even just a hotel. And along with this, they do offer breakfast and dinner for free. I mean, who doesn't like free food? Now, when it comes to schedules, it really varies between company to company. But you could work 14 days on and then have 2 weeks off. You could work a 15 days on and then 10 days off. It really just depends on the company. But the best thing about fracking is that you do get a lot of home time. For a lot of companies, you do end up working sometimes only half of the year. Now, pay, which is what everybody wants to know about. Now, this really depends on if you have a CDL and then obviously what endorsements you have with your CDL. If you currently do not have a CDL, you can probably expect to bring in about $17 an hour. And if you do have your CDL, you can be prepared to bring in about $20 to $21 per hour starting off. And then obviously as you gain more experience, you might get a dollar raise here and a dollar raise there. Now, some companies do offer this, but if you do have your hazmat endorsement, you can be paid a day rate. Now, this rate will be separated from your normal hourly pay, but it is a day rate, and not all companies offer this, but some companies do, and it's probably worth checking in on if you do apply for one of these service companies. If the company does offer a day rate for having a hazmat, you can basically expect to have just an extra $1,000 separated from your hourly pay every week. Now, as far as the hours go, I do know frac crews only work about 14 to 15 hours per day, and that's usually 7 days a week. So getting those types of hours, you can usually expect to net around $3,200 or $3,500 a week, and sometimes, depending on the company, you could make more north of $4,000 a week. It really just depends. And for all you truck drivers out there, you know what I'm talking about. I just don't know any other trucking job that you can get that you can make $4,000 a week. But that's what they are offering out here in the oil field. Now, what's great about frac is that you will get lots of home time and still make about $115,000 a year, maybe even more. But you should know that fracking is a lot harder than cement. All of the hoses, all of the iron are a lot heavier than what you would be working with in cement. I believe with hydraulic fracturing, most of the iron is going to be like a 3-inch or a 4-inch iron. Just keep that in mind if you do apply for one of these jobs. Now, you also need to keep in mind that hydraulic fracking also has a lot more moving pieces to the puzzle there. A lot more than a cement job would be on a rig. I honestly think that fracking and also being a cement operator is probably one of the best ways to jumpstart your oil field career. Most of these companies hire right out of trucking school, or even if you don't have any oil field experience, these companies are willing to take you in and train you. So if you're ready to get out of that OTR job that you're in now and ready to come out here to the oil field and make a ton of money with us, I would highly recommend that you guys start applying to these jobs. And like I said in the beginning of the video, these jobs and these companies that you're going to want to look for is the Halliburton, Schlumberger, Nextier, ProPetro, any company like that that's a service company. These are pretty good companies to just get your feet wet in the oil field. Anyways, those are 2 more options for you guys who are looking to get out here in the oil field, make a ton of money, save your money, go invest it somewhere else, whatever you got to do. But oil field's busy right now. Why not take advantage of it while it's still here? And like I said, I don't know any other job paying $4,000 a week to be a truck driver. But I'm gonna leave you guys with that right there, and I gotta get on back to work. So I'm gonna go out here and finish loading my truck, and I appreciate all your comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and make sure those bell notifications are turned on so you guys don't miss any more content from me. But until next time, keep it between the ditches.